Hey y'all, it's Lauren, and you're listening to Social Workers on Fire. And today I have Miss Mary with us and Miss Angie. And so Miss Mary is actually one of our clients with our program, and she has become a part of our Adopt-A-Grandparent program, which we'll kind of dive into later. But I have Miss Angie here with us, who is her volunteer. And so with our Adopt-A-Grandparent program, you get matched with a volunteer who essentially adopts the grandparent. And so they have graciously agreed to come on and just talk about their experience with the program. But first, I'm just going to give a little backstory about how Miss Mary got involved with us without revealing too much. But so we actually got a call one day from the mayor's office, from his assistant. And she said, hey, I just spoke with this citizen in our community, and she was having some issues with her water bill. And as she got to talking to her, she realized there were more needs beyond just the water bill. And so she thought our program might be able to help her out. And so I gave Miss Mary a call and just kind of explained our program and what we do. And she thought it would be great for us to come out and kind of assess her needs and see what's going on. And so I came out and met with Miss Mary in her home. And as we got to talking, I realized that Miss Mary just didn't have the best support system here in town. And she was honestly lonely and wanted some people to come around and be there for her. And so I told her about our Adopt-A-Grandparent program, which we had recently started up. And she was very excited about it. And so I put her on our wait list. So we rely on UA students for our Adopt-A-Grandparent program at this point. We have a partnership with the Center for Service and Leadership at the University of Alabama. And so I told her, I'm going to put you on our wait list. And as we get some volunteers, we'll kind of find a good match for you, and then we'll go from there. And so what happens is so the Center for Service and Leadership has a website called Bama Pulse. And on Bama Pulse is where we can create any events that we need volunteers for. And so what we did is we created our Adopt-A-Grandparent program on Bama Pulse and advertised, hey, we're just looking for someone to commit to 1 hour a week, whatever works with your schedule and the grandparent's schedule, but to either come visit them in the home, take them out to do stuff, do phone calls. I mean, just really whatever creative idea you want to come up with, we're open to that. And so through that, UA students are able to sign up on it. And we ask the UA student and we ask our grandparent both to fill out this little questionnaire. And if you think of like Big Brother, Big Sister program, if you've ever volunteered with that, they do something very similar. I actually participated in that whenever I was in college. And so they do kind of an interview process and find out what your likes are, your hobbies, what you like to do, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. And so we kind of follow their model, but with grandparents. And so we had Miss Angie fill out her interests, and then we had Miss Mary fill out her interests. And I remember as we were reviewing it, I'm like, this is literally perfect. They have so much in common. They like so many of the same things. And so I thought, okay, I think this will be really a good match. And so through that, we had them come and meet each other in the home. But Angie, before we get to that, if you could kind of just explain how you came to learn about the Adopt-A-Grandparent program and like what brought you onto Bama Pulse.
Well, this last semester I had to fulfill a requirement of 15 hours of service work for my course. And so they had all of these programs listed on Bama Pulse, and as I was going through it, my main subject when I first started going through doing the social work was gerontology.
Yeah.
Mainly because my father passed away of dementia and Alzheimer's, and so that just kind of led me in that direction. And so I just kind of went that way. I kind of went to gerontology, went to grandparents or, older adults, and kind of led me to your site.
Yeah.
And so then when I saw that as I was reading through it, I saw that it's, that it not only is good for the grandparent, but it's also good for the volunteer,
Yeah.
especially if you don't have any grandparents anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't. All of mine are gone.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is perfect for me. I said, I can do this. So that was what caught me onto it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what we did is Angie signed up and we scheduled. So typically what we do is for the very first meeting, we don't want to kind of just toss you guys to the wolves of, hey, is this a good match? And so I come along, or Brianna, my coworker, if it's one of her clients. Then we come for the first meeting just to kind of sit down to each other real briefly, get to know each other, say, hey, is this a good match? Are we going to, get along and want to do stuff together? And so kind of maybe Miss Mary, tell us, how'd you feel after that first meting with Angie? And
I was super excited. I felt like I'd known Angie all my life. Lauren did an excellent job of picking, and it's just been an amazing blessing for me. We've become really friends, just really good friends, in a very short period of time. Poor Angie got thrown into it. Our very first just together alone was
Yes.
me going into surgery. She took me, and they took everything off. We got to know each other very well at the very first visit. But we've done so many fun things together, and things that I couldn't possibly do. I'm not really ambulatory well. I can walk, but only for short distances. And Angie's taken me here and there. We went to the University of Alabama Arboretum and down into areas that I could have never gotten into. And how she got me back up that hill, I will never know, but she did.
I've heard that story, that it was quite an experience.
And we've gone to eat, but mostly it's just getting to talk and just getting to know each other and just share and just be like family is really what it's been for me. I mean, it is as if I have had Angie in my life my whole life.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And it has given me a new reason to get up in the morning, and I'm just so grateful to the Lord, and I'm grateful to Lauren, and I'm super grateful to Angie.
Yeah, I love to hear that. Is there a certain, from the different outings y'all have done or just conversations, is there a certain one that really stands out to you, that just a really good experience that you enjoyed the most?
I never stopped talking. How could she pick?
Well, the very first day that I met her, as soon as I walked in the door, she about attacked me, hugging me, saying that she was so excited, that she's been so nervous that it's kind of like a first date. and so I love that. I know I tell my husband sometimes I want to stop out at Mary's house and take her this, or we're going to go do this, and I said she'll wear out soon, so I won't you stay long, because she gets tired so easily. 8 hours later, I'm pulling
Still
up the
gone.
driveway, I'm like, we got to talking, and I'd look at my watch, and I'm like, okay, we'll be going, and then we'll get on another topic, and
All my fault.
No,
I
mean, I can talk to a brick wall all day long, and so we just always, there's nothing that we haven't talked about. There's, we always find something to talk about.
Yeah.
And there's, it just, I could sit there and talk all day long.
I think we found out that we've got a lot in common in different ways, but a lot in common.
Yeah.
A lot of the same stuff.
Even a lot of the dislikes. And,
Right.
Yeah.
I know, that's what's so interesting to see is you fill out those forms, and it's very basic things like hobbies and favorite drink and favorite food. But then just from those basic things being in common, then you find there's so much more, just dislikes and everything.
And she has little baby goats at her house. I mean,
You're in heaven over that,
And
huh?
I haven't even gotten to see one up close yet. But they raised bees, and so I gotten wonderful fresh honey.
Oh man, you're just living the benefits.
I'm telling you, and eggs, fresh eggs. I haven't had to buy an egg in weeks.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and I think another thing, you kind of touched on it earlier, that very first visit, is one of the things not only did we identify for Miss Mary was being lonely and needing a support, but also transportation was a big issue.
Yes.
And so that very first visit, although not intended for that to be your first visit outside of the initial meeting with me, was Angie getting to step in and get Miss Mary to a really important, actually surgery. Not even appointment.
Right,
you know?
it was surgery.
And so the Adopt-A-Grandparent program was able to fill not only that just needing support, but also the transportation side too. So, and y'all definitely aren't alone in, you know, we tell our volunteers when they sign up, hey, we're requiring 1 to 2 hours a week. But we found with all of our volunteers, you know, if it's a good match, you get to talking and you get to having a blast, and before you know it, 4 hours, 6 hours have passed. And so we kind of just try to tell our interns, like, you're not required to do it, but they're like, I'm having great. You know, our volunteers are like, I'm having a great time.
I think we sat in chicken salad chick for 2 hours. I mean, it's not like we hadn't, you know, finished eating, but we were not finished talking.
That's right.
We could have talked in the car too, but we just had stuff that had to.
And I remember too. So with Bama Pulse, when the students are volunteering, they're able to enter their hours, and they can also upload pictures. And I remember before I even matched you in the Adopt-A-Grandparent program, you were talking about how badly you wanted a margarita and to go out for a margarita. And the next thing I know, I see where Angie has entered the volunteer hours, and there's a picture with Miss Mary with her margarita, and I'm like, I love it. This is great. And I remember coming back to visit you after you had that appointment. You're like, I got my margarita.
I did.
Yeah, so it's all the small things, you know, getting to do that before you weren't getting to do. So,
well, and little, just, you know, just texting each other during the day, just checking, just short, little, tiny, little things like that, just to know that there's somebody
that's thinking of
that's
you.
thinking about you.
Yeah.
Means everything.
So I know another thing with a lot of our volunteers is they come in and, like in Angie's situation, it's for a class requirement. Like, I need to get so many hours. But what we found and what we pray and cross our fingers for is that as you get more attached and meeting with the person, it's like, my hours are done, but I don't want this to be over. And to my understanding, I think this has been the case with you guys as well. So you are finished with your hours, right?
Yes,
through your...
I am. And the very last day, due to the surgery she had that I took her to, she wasn't able to get out and do a whole lot.
Yeah.
So that kind of put me behind on my hours. And so the day we went to the Arboretum, I had like 5 hours left to get from my hours. And I was like, oh, we can get that. And that was the day I ended up spending 8 hours with her. But, you know, as we sat here and, you know, I was telling her, I said, look, just because my hours are done and completed, I said, I'm not going nowhere.
Right.
I said, you know, this is a lifelong friendship. And, you know, I said, so I just wanted to go ahead and tell you that up front that, you know, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's great.
I knew anyway.
You didn't need to tell
I was not going to let her go. So, you know, she really didn't have a choice in that.
Yes, which is great. And so, you know, Angie and Mary are still in technically our Adopt-A-Grandparent program, but Angie does not have to enter hours anymore. They just do, you know, as before, whatever they want to do, whenever works for their schedule. What we do have some clients where it is like typical college student. They're here from New Jersey, volunteer, you know, and they go back home when they graduate. And so what we do with those clients is that we put them back on our wait list and just rematch them with another volunteer. But obviously the most ideal situation is like Angie lives here in town anyways. And so you're able to keep that connection going.
I just wanted to say one thing about the loneliness when you're a shut-in like me.
Yeah.
And you can't get out, and you can't, you know, and you've got, even if you have wonderful friends, they forget, you know, and just to know that you've got somebody that is completely, acutely aware of your situation and how lonely you really are. That makes that special little effort to say, hey, every couple, just how are you?
Yeah.
It means everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
So if there was someone, like a client of ours listening, and they're considering joining the program, or if there's another agency out there thinking about creating an Adopt-A-Grandparent program, what would you say to them?
Please just jump in both feet. Just do it, because well, I'll tell you the truth, in a way, it is saving me, because I don't have the support system that I do now with you, but I have not had the support system, and it is extremely depressing.
Yeah.
And I know that and I'm quite ill physically, and I know that does not help when you're depressed and lonely.
Yeah.
And it just gives me that it's like a little booster shot, that I get. And Angie is just like a ray of sunshine, in my life.
Yeah.
And so anybody that's even teetering on considering, just jump right on in. It is so worth it.
Great. That's great. And what about you, Angie? For anyone that's thinking about, do I want to volunteer with this program? What would you say?
It has definitely added a lot of joy to my life. Honestly, Mary is actually younger than my own mother.
Yeah.
And so it's more like being an adopted daughter, adopted mother.
Mother.
I literally have to pass by Miss Mary's on the way home, and so if she needs me to run by the grocery store and grab her something, that is no problem at all. I can just, pick it up real quick and drop it off, or if I need to bring her some eggs, anything. And I'm still going to get you to the goats one day. But it has really helped with, even though she is younger than, my mother and everything, it has helped to feel the loss of a grandparent.
Yeah.
Feeling. And
that was definitely something we were hesitant on at first, because, okay, you think of a college student, typically your mind goes 19, 20-year-old, but that's not the case. There's so many college students, that are deciding to go back to school later in life.
Yeah.
And so when we had Angie matching with Mary, who's honestly a little bit younger than our typical grandparents too, it was like, okay, well, this is not going to be her grandparent in a age sense, but I think it still ended up being a really good.
I mean, some of the stories, I just love listening to her stories that she tells, and of her adventures and places that she's lived, and talking about her wonderful husband, and just, I could just sit there and listen to her all day long.
She's got some good stories.
Heart, that's quite a feat too. I'm not here to
Well, it just reminds me, my grandfather used to sit and tell me stories all the time, and
yeah,
I just love hearing of them, when they grew up and the way things used to be, and especially the way things are now. You want to go back to some of that. And so, but I have not regretted it one bit.
good.
And, because I'm thinking there are some other programs that was on the Bama Pulse, that, like, would end.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm, knowing me, I probably would have gotten so involved in everything that it would have broke my heart,
To watch it end and be done and not know, and
yes. And so, yes, this is a program that has added another joy to my life, and no regrets whatsoever choosing it.
So glad to hear that. Well, I appreciate both of y'all so much for coming on and agreeing to do this for us. We are so thankful for you guys. And so for our next podcast, Brianna is going to be coming back with me, and we are going to do kind of a case review of a couple of our cases, walk you through how the referral came in, what we identified, why were they maybe calling 911, why were they referred, and what was the true underlying issue and how we were able to solve that. So we hope you'll tune in.